This is a video which is based on a presentation I expect to give on Friday about the concept of Genesis and Evolution model railway coaches, originally from Hatton's and now developed under Rapido Trains UK label. And we're going to focus on Rapido UK's new Evolution coach range. Hatton's were the one that started this whole idea with their Genesis 4-wheel and 6-wheel coaches. And I'm also going to use something Bachmann to compare as well, because they've just produced some very highly authentic, I believe, London North Western Railway coaches. As I go to do this recording, I believe there are more coaches coming out under the EFE range that are prototype coaches. I have not actually had a chance to look at those in this presentation. So modeling the prototypes of coaches, of course, we are talking about going back into the late 19th century and early 20th century, and there were countless individual railway company coach designs. There were quite a mix too of coach types of that era, from the 4-wheel, the earliest being 4-wheel coaches. They become then 6-wheel coaches towards the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, and then not long after they started to become bogie carriages in a lot of instances, especially on the main lines for high-speed travel. These were all made by many different manufacturers in addition to the railway companies that often made their own. There are no standard designs as we see post 1923 grouping. Nevertheless, designs did begin to share features in common, and this resulted in a similar look and feel amongst even the older coaches. Now, it's still very expensive indeed just to make a rake of variations of coaches with 100% authentic detail, and right now coaches are breaching the £100 each price line. There are many more ready to run pre-grouping locomotives in pre-grouping liveries too, very authentic and accurate ones, and there's a limit to the amount of coaching stock that's available to go behind them for passenger trains. So there's an increasing demand for period carriages to run behind these early era locomotives. And of course, there's also quite a lot more pre-grouping good stock too, in comparison to a few years ago. So where do the manufacturers go from here? So in the beginning there was Genesis. Pre-grouping coaches are very distinctly different to the expert eye, but it's recognized that these early coaches had parts and characteristics that were common to each other, especially with the period, so much so that they tend to seem similar in looks from a distance. Hatton's of Liverpool saw the potential of using manufacturing techniques to produce a select range of different coaches which, while not authentic, could have a similar period look and feel about them. Their Genesis range was 4- and 6-wheel coaches. They're based on a generic coach design with the addition of individual components to make them different, make them convincing enough to represent a particular railway company's coach style for the early 20th century steam era. They chose among various finely made components, including brass etches and very fine plastic sprues too, to produce 60 different coaches with working lighting in over 200 liveries with number variations for 17 railway companies. I believe I did pre-order or rate these 3 years ago. I didn't take delivery of them though, and they were at that time about £30 for each 6-wheel coach. And then there was Evolution. So Hatton's left us, and some of us are still sad about that, but Rapido UK, although they didn't take over the Genesis range from Hatton's, they decided to develop it a little further, and that's why they chose the name Evolution, or Evolution. The demise of Hatton saw stocks of their range, including recent new stocks, sell out. There's been, I think about a month or two ago, there was some more stock found, and they disappeared in a week. Further development of the generic idea was taken on board by Rapido, and they decided to create an extensive range of bogie coaches. Rapido have so far announced, I believe, nearly 100 designs and railway company variations, and their recommended retail price is £69.95. I think you can certainly look at getting them at £65 each. Still a lot of money, I think, but a little less than you would get from having authentic coaches for those railway companies. And Bachmann have in fact produced very recently a really nice set of London North Western coaches, but they are £109.95 each in British pounds. Somebody can tell me what that is in Canadian dollars, hopefully on the call. So Rapido Design, what were they doing? The idea was still not to just simply relivery an identical coach as we saw in the 1970s. The quality of the livery is still very important indeed, of course, and with modern printing techniques, and you can get the most fantastic detail and fantastic lining on the current new liveries. A limited range of period components is used to bring the generic coach body to be recognized by the average user as near as possible to a prototype. The aim is to give the best look and feel to the average modeler, who would not recognize the necessary compromises. The impression could also even be a what might have been coach. Details from edges and sprues are separately fitted. These features include a choice of 3 different roofs. A roof-mounted gas lamps and plumbing arrangements are different. The end alarm, step and lamp iron detail is added, and again it differs from coach to coach according to railway company practice. Internal details such as etched roof racks and decorative detail, they have gone to some trouble to create some accurate colours inside the coaches as well as outside. Underframe parts for battery and regulator boxes, dynamos, gas tanks, that sort of things on the underframes, their position does vary according to the coach modelled. All are fitted with widely used Fox pattern bogies, but they do have different footboard designs according to, again, railway company practice. They all have working lighting. I believe they use a wand technique where you can touch the top of the coach with a wand and there's some kind of magnetic effect that will turn the lights on and off. This is a sample of the ends of coaches, the different ends. As you can see, a slight subtle differences there. And you can see the 3 different coach type roofs as well. And now I'm going to have a quick talk about one. I was actually on a Great Eastern Railway Society meeting that was discussing this the other day. In fact, I raised the subject and we went into some detail about this particular batch of coaches, which are the Great Eastern Railway coaches, going to be produced as batch 2 by Rapido UK. So we're looking now at the difference between the model and the prototype. The Great Eastern coaches were 50 foot long and the Evolution coach is only 48 foot long. They do not vary the length of these coaches. So they can't have the right number of compartments for the Great Eastern Railway. Sadly, there were no similar Great Eastern Railway composite coaches or full brake coaches to those represented in this range. Rapido chose from 3 roof profiles, and sadly again none of those roof profiles were ideal for the Great Eastern Railway. The clerestory is the closest probably, and that was extremely rare, and the elliptical profile is completely different from the Great Eastern Railway. The Great Eastern Railway coaches are produced with vacuum pipes instead of Westinghouse, much to the horror of one GRS member, but this is very easily remedied by the purchaser, of course. Nevertheless, there is still considerable effort being made on adding individual details to make each railway company rake as individual and convincing as possible, right down to internal fittings, upholstery and decoration. The challenge is, of course, that these coaches will always be a compromise and can never match a precise model of a particular company's coaches. At over £60, some may also find these coaches a bit too expensive for a compromise solution too. The bottom line is that, with a little imagination, these finely finished and highly detailed coaches can be very enjoyable indeed, and they do fulfill a need, while proving to be very popular. Not to your taste? Well, perhaps they will whet the modeller's appetite and serve to encourage more authentic models in the future. I did already mention that since I wrote this, there has been another range of authentic coaches come out. So, who knows? Over to you, Jim, for discussion.